Hello, my dear students. I am here again with a new chapter, chapter number 6, that is tissue of class 9th science book. So, today you are going to have notes with full explanation of this chapter. So, be ready and quickly put out your notebook with a pen or pencil to make notes. So students, I will start with your previous knowledge. In previous chapter, means chapter number 5, we have all studied about cell. What is cell? Cell is the basic and structural unit of life. When so many cells combine, it means when group of cells combine, they form a tissue. And what is tissue? We are all going to discuss in this chapter about tissue. What are tissues, what are plant tissues, what are animal tissues, and what are their functions, what are their structures. So basically, what is a tissue? A group of cells that are similar in structure and perform a particular functions. Means so many cells of same structure and same function combine to form a tissue. And when so many tissues combine, means group of tissues, that is called an organ. And what is an organ? Different organs perform different functions. For examples, we have so many internal organs such as heart. The function of heart is to pumping blood. Function of lungs is to help in respiration, etc. Now, when group of organs combine, they form an organ system, means our complete body. So this was simply a flowchart to make you understand that how tissues are formed and when group of tissues combine, what they form. First of all, group of cells combine, they form tissues. Then group of tissues combine, they form organ. And when group of organs combine, they form organ system. So in this chapter, we will study about two kind of tissues. First one is plant tissue and another one is animal tissue. So just quickly revise what are differences between plant tissue and animal tissues. Plants are stationary, so they don't need much energy to move. We all know that plants are not capable to move from here and there. They are just stationary. But animals have to move, so they need much energy to move. Animals have to move from places to places in search of food, in search of shelter, etc. So they need much more energy than plants. That is why to provide mechanical support, most of the tissues are dead. In plants, the first main thing which plants need is mechanical support. To give mechanical support, most of the tissues in plants are dead tissues. But in animals, they need much more energy, much more strength than plants. That is why all tissues are living tissues. So this was simply a difference between plant tissue and animal tissue. In this chapter, we are going to discuss about all tissues, kind of tissues which are present in plants and which kind of tissues are present in animals. But this was simply a single difference between plant tissue and animal tissue, that most of the plant tissues are dead because they give support, they give mechanical support to the plants. But in case of animals, they need strength to move from here and there. That is why all tissues are live tissues. Now, this is simply a flow chart to make you understand how tissues are divided into different kind of tissues. So, first of all, we have already discussed what is a tissue, a group of cells performing similar function. Those group of cells which are same in structure and perform a similar function, that is called a tissue. Now, in this chapter, we will study about two kind of tissues. First one is plant tissue and another one is animal tissue. Now, first of all, let us see what are different kind of plant tissues. So, plant tissues are divided into two parts. First one is meristematic tissue and second one is permanent tissue. Now, meristematic is further divided into three types: apical meristematic tissue, intercalary meristematic tissue and lateral meristematic tissue. And permanent tissue is also divided into two types: simple permanent and complex permanent. Now, simple permanent is also divided into two kind of tissues. Firstly, supportive tissues and secondly, protective tissues. Supportive tissues are three tissues: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Then parenchyma is also divided into two, chlorenchyma and erenchyma. And protective tissue is also of two types, epidermis and cork. This is all is given in your textbook. It is just in the form of flow chart. We will discuss about each type of tissues, what are their structures and what are their functions. So this was all about plant tissue. Now coming to the animal tissue, there are four type of animal tissues: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. Epithelial tissue is divided into four parts: squamous, cuboidal, columnar or stratified squamous. These four are types of epithelial tissue. Connective tissue, these are not kind of connective tissues, but these are examples of connective tissue, like where connective tissues is found in blood, bones, ligament, tendon, cartilage, areolar and adipose. We will study about all these tissues. Now coming to the muscular tissue, it is divided further into two, voluntary muscle tissues and involuntary muscle tissues. Voluntary muscle tissues is stratified or skeletal muscle, and in voluntary muscle tissues there are two, smooth muscles and cardiac muscle. And fourth type is only nervous tissue. It is not further divided into other types or other kinds. So this was simply a flowchart to make you understand how plant tissues and how animal tissues are divided into further categories. Now we will study about them one by one. So let's start. Students, video can be a little bit longer, but trust me, you are going to get all the knowledge about tissues in this single video with notes. You can also copy these notes and then do your practice with them. So first of all, we are going to study about plant tissue. In flow chart, we have seen that plant tissue is divided into two types. First one is meristematic tissue. So let us study about meristematic tissue. It is also known as dividing tissue. The most important point is meristematic tissue is also known as dividing tissue. In plants, there are specific points where growth of plants occurs. Meristematic tissue is present at these points. So students, in plants, in trees, there are some specific points where plants grow. Like all parts of plants don't grow with rapid speed, but there are some specific points where plants grow. At these points, meristematic tissue is present. Now, cells of meristematic tissue initially act as meristem, but later as they grow and mature, their characteristics changes and they become component cells of other tissues. In these points, we can simply say that cells of meristematic tissue, when they are newly formed, when they are initially formed, they act as meristem tissue, means they increase the growth of plants. But later on, when they get old, or we can simply say they get mature, their characters changes and they get converted into cells of other tissues, which we will study later on. Now, meristematic tissue is also divided into three parts. So first one is apical meristem. What is apical meristem? First of all, where it is present? It is present at the growing tips of stems and roots. Where stems and roots grow, their apical meristem is present. And what is its function? It helps to increase the length of stem and roots. Apical meristem is simply present at the tips of stems and roots, and it increases their length. Now coming to the next part, lateral meristem. Lateral meristem is also kind of meristematic tissue. It is present at the girth of stem and roots. Girth means width. Like this is tree, so it is its girth. It is present at the girth of stems and roots, and girth means width of stem and roots increases due to this tissue. Lateral meristem means, what is function of lateral meristem? It increases the girth of a plant, means it increases the girth of stem of a plant and also increases the roots. Now third is intercalary meristem. It is also a kind of meristematic tissue. And what is intercalary meristem? It is present at the base of the leaves or at nodes or internodes of the leaves. Like this is a leaf, and from where it is attached to a plant, these are called nodes, and these are called internodes. So at this point, intercalary meristem is present, and its function is simply to provide strength to nodes and internodes. So it was all about first kind of plant tissue, that is meristematic tissue. Now we will study about second type of plant tissue, that is permanent tissue. What are permanent tissues? When cells of meristematic tissue grow and become mature, they get converted into cells of permanent tissue. We have just studied about meristematic tissue, that initially their cells behave like meristematic tissue, but later on when they get mature, they behave like others, like they are component of other tissues. So permanent tissues are those tissues, means cells of permanent tissues are initially the cells of meristematic tissues, but later on they get converted into cells of permanent tissues. Now one other important point, the whole process by which cells of meristematic tissue take up a permanent shape, size and function and become cells of permanent tissue is called differentiation. Means the whole process by which cells of meristematic tissue get converted into cells of permanent tissue, that whole process is called differentiation. Now students, this permanent tissue is also divided into two types. First one is simple permanent and second one is complex permanent tissue. So we will first study about simple permanent tissues. So first one is simple permanent tissue. What are simple permanent tissue? Tissue formed by same kind of cells and together perform a similar function is called simple permanent tissue. This was very simple. When same kind of cells combine and do a similar function, means same kind of cells combine and perform a same function, then those kind of tissues are called simple permanent tissues. These are of two kinds, supportive tissues and protective tissues. Means simple permanent tissue is also divided into two categories, supportive tissues and protective tissues. So here is supportive tissues. What are supportive tissues? We can simply have an idea by its name, supportive tissue. Means those tissues which support plants. Tissues which support plant to grow and provide them structural strength are called supportive tissues. Means those kind of tissues which support plants mechanically to grow and provide them structural strength are known as supportive tissues. Now supportive tissue is also divided into three categories. First one is parenchyma, second one is collenchyma and third one is sclerenchyma. So let's see what are these tissues. This is first kind of supportive tissue, that is parenchyma. Cells of this tissue are loosely packed. It has large intercellular space. Intercellular space means space between cells. Suppose this is a tissue and these are cells between this. So there is lot of space between cells. So this is called intercellular space. Cells of this tissue have thin cell wall. We all know that cells of plant have a additional layer. Cells of plants have an additional layer that is called cell wall. So these tissues, means parenchyma tissues, have very thin cell wall. Living or live cells are found. Means we have already discussed about this, that in plants most of the tissues are dead but some tissues are live. So in this kind of tissue, cells are living cells. It provides support to plants and also store foods. This kind of tissue, means parenchyma tissue, support plant and store foods in it. Now parenchyma is also divided into two kinds. First one is chlorenchyma and second one is erenchyma. So what is chlorenchyma and what is erenchyma? Chlorenchyma. Chlorenchyma tissue is found in most of the green plants. Those plants which are green in color, means which perform photosynthesis by their chlorophyll. means it contains chlorophyll and perform photosynthesis. Means parenchyma tissue when contain chlorophyll and perform photosynthesis, then it is given a separate term, that is chlorenchyma. And what is erenchyma? Erenchyma is used in aquatic plants, means plants which live under water. It contains large air cavity which helps plant to float. Means cells of erenchyma, they have very much space between them. That is why most of the space is empty. So plants can easily float on water. And those kind of tissues, means those kind of parenchyma tissues are given a new term, that is called erenchyma. So this was first type of supportive tissue, that is parenchyma. Now let's study about second kind. Second is collenchyma. What is collenchyma? The flexibility in plants is due to this tissue. It's very simple, means plants are flexible due to collenchyma. It allows easy bending of stem, leaf, etc. without breaking. Means collenchyma allows plants that they can easily bend their stems and their leaves, that they can easily bend without breaking. Means they all provide flexibility to the plants. It also provides mechanical support. It also provides mechanical support to the plant. Cells of collenchyma are also living. We have studied about parenchyma cells, those are living cells, and cells of collenchyma are also living cells. And what about intercellular space? Intercellular space is very little. In parenchyma, there were lot of intercellular space, means space between cells. But in this case, in collenchyma tissues, space between cells is very little. So this was all about collenchyma. It provides flexibility to the plant. It also provides mechanical support, and cells are living, and intercellular space is very little. Now third kind of supportive tissue is sclerenchyma. What is a sclerenchyma? It provides hardness and stiffness to the plant. It is just opposite of collenchyma. Collenchyma provides flexibility to the plant, but sclerenchyma provides hardness and stiffness to the plant. Cells of sclerenchyma are dead cells. Means cells in parenchyma and collenchyma are both living cells, but in sclerenchyma they are dead cells. You students just remember one thing, those tissues which are hard and provide stiffness, they are all dead cells. They are all made up of dead cells. Dead cells provide stiffness and hardness. We can simply say when tissues provide hardness or stiffness to the plant, then their cells will be dead cells in every case. Third is no intercellular space. Walls of this tissue are very hard due to the presence of lignin. It is very important because sclerenchyma provides stiffness and hardness to the plant. So there is a chemical substance which acts as cement. You know how hard is cement? So lignin is a kind of chemical substance which acts as a cement and hardens them. It provides hardness to the plant. So inside these tissues, lignin is present, due to which they provide hardness to the plant. It provides strength to the plant. Of course, they are supportive tissue. That is why they provide strength to the plant. It is present in stems. So where is sclerenchyma present? It is present in stems, veins of leaves, around vascular bundle, and in the hard covering of seeds and nuts, for example husk of coconut. It is very important. The question is also given in your textbook, which tissue is present in husk of coconut? So your answer will be sclerenchyma tissue is present in the husk of coconut. And in the hard covering of seeds and nuts, there also sclerenchyma tissue is present. So this was all about supportive tissue. We studied about 3 types of supportive tissue. Parenchyma, there were 2 types of parenchyma, chlorenchyma and erenchyma. Then we studied about collenchyma, which provide flexibility to the plant, and lastly we have discussed about sclerenchyma, which provide strength and hardness, stiffness to the plant. Now we will study about protective tissues. So what are protective tissues? Tissues which protect plants from outer environment are called protective tissues. First of all, plants are stationary. They can't move, they can't protect themselves from weather, from environment, from harsh weather or rain, etc. So protective tissues are kind of tissues which protect them, which act as protector from environment, from weather conditions, etc. So there are two kind of protective tissues. First is epidermis and second will be cork. So let us study about epidermis. What is epidermis? Made up of single layer of cells. This tissue is very thin tissue. We can simply say this tissue is very thin tissue which is made up of single layer of cells. Yes, but one important point, plants which live in dry habitats, layers of cells may be thicker to protect against water loss. It means those plants which live in dry habitats, like plants which live in desert areas like cactus, etc., they have many layers of cells which are thicker and which protect them against water loss. In all plants, outer covering is epidermis. Epidermis protects all the parts of the plants, and this tissue means epidermis protects all the parts of plant. Cells of epidermis secrete a waxy layer. So this is the speciality of epidermis, that epidermis secrete a waxy layer on the aerial parts of the plant. Means suppose this is a plant, these are its roots and this is the tree. So this is all aerial part, means part which is in air. So in this part epidermis secrete a waxy layer. Why it secrete a waxy layer? So there are three reasons behind it: to protect against water loss, to protect against mechanical injury, and to protect from parasitic fungi. These are the reasons why epidermis secrete a waxy layer on the aerial part of a plant. Next point is no intercellular space. Now this tissue is present in two forms: epidermal cells of leaf and epidermal cells of roots. Let us study about these. Small pores in the epidermis of leaf are called stomata. We have studied a lot about stomata. What are stomata? Small pores in leaves. So in these pores epidermal cells are present. Means small pores in the epidermis of leaf are called stomata. Stomata are enclosed by two kidney shaped cells called guard cells. Stomata helps to exchange gases with atmosphere and in transpiration, loss of water in the form of water vapor. It is important in case of stomata that what are functions of stomata. So there are two functions of stomata. First one is to exchange gases from atmosphere, and secondly transpiration, means loss of water in the form of water vapor. So this was all about epidermal cells of leaf. Now let us study about epidermal cells of roots. Epidermal cells of roots have hair-like parts. We all know roots have hair-like parts. These are parts of cells. It increases the surface area for absorption. So what are their function? These hair-like projections, means hair-like parts, these increase the surface area so that plant can absorb maximum water. Its function is water absorption. Now, one important point is, in desert plants, epidermis has a thick waxy coating of cutin, chemical substance with waterproof quality. Means where water is very precious, their epidermis has a thick waxy coating that is called cutin. Cutin is a chemical substance with waterproof quality. Means only in those epidermis tissues cutin is present which live in desert plants. Now this is second type of protective tissue, cork. Epidermis is also a protective tissue, and now cork is also a protective tissue. As plants grow older, outer protective tissue undergoes several changes. As the plant grow day by day, their outer layer get converted into cork. Secondary meristem replaces the epidermis of stem. Means in a tree, outer layer is an epidermis tissue, and when epidermis tissue get older day by day, it get converted into cork. It forms several thick layers called cork or bark of the tree. Cork is also known as the bark of the tree. It has dead cells, and I have already told you students that when tissue provide hardness, stiffness to the plant, then cells of those tissues are always dead cells. So cells of cork are also dead cells. No intercellular space means space between cells is nothing. Walls of cork contain suberin, a chemical that protects stem from gases and water. Now, walls of cork also contain a chemical substance that is called suberin, which protect plant from external environment such as gases and water, etc. So why this chemical is present in cork? Because cork is a kind of protective tissue. Its function is to protect plant from external weather conditions. Now we have discussed all about simple permanent tissue. Now we will discuss about complex permanent tissue. Simple and complex both are type of permanent tissues. So what are complex permanent tissues? Tissues formed by different kind of cells but perform a similar function is called complex permanent tissues. Means their structures will not be same, means so many cells of different structures combine to form a tissue, but their function will be same. These are of two types, xylem and phloem. We have been studying xylem phloem from class 6th. Means what are the functions of xylem to transport water in plants and what are functions of phloem to transport food in plants. So let us study in detail about xylem and phloem. First of all, xylem. Xylem is a kind of conductive tissue, means its work is to do transportation in plants. Constitute vascular bundle. It contain a vascular bundle. Vascular bundle means tubular cells. It contain tubular cells to transport water easily in all parts of the plant. It helps plants to survive in terrestrial environment. Means plants which live underwater, means aquatic plants. For aquatic plants it is easy to survive because there are lot of water, but in terrestrial environment there is very less water. So xylem tissue help plant to survive in those conditions. Cells have thick walls, means cells of xylem have thick cell walls and many are dead cells. Most of the cells are dead cells. Xylem is made up of 4 type of elements: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. See students, from class 6th and 7th we have just heard the name of xylem and its function is to transport water. But now in class 9th, when we are studying in detail about all tissues and their types, now we came to know about xylem's parts. Means xylem is made up of 4 parts: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. So tracheids and vessels are tubular, which allow them to transport water and minerals vertically. Tracheids and vessels both are tabular in shape, means they combine and help plant to transport water in vertically directions. Water and also minerals. It is also very important that water and minerals. The function of xylem is to transport water and minerals. Xylem parenchyma stores food and help in conduction of water horizontally. And what is function of xylem parenchyma? It is also a part of xylem. Xylem parenchyma stores food and helps in conduction of water horizontally. Means this kind. Now xylem fibers are supportive in functions. Means xylem fibers has not a specific work, but it helps tracheids, vessels and xylem parenchyma to transport water. This was all about xylem. Now next is phloem. It transports food from leaves to other parts of the plant. What is function of phloem? It transports food. We all know that leaves are chef of tree, means they cook food for all the parts of tree. And what are functions of phloem? Phloem take food from leaves and transport it to all other parts of the plant. It is made up of 5 type of elements. Now phloem is a combination of 5 type of elements: sieve tubes, sieve cells, companion cells, phloem fibers and phloem parenchyma. Now sieve tubes are tubular cells with perforated walls. What is meaning of perforated walls? Perforated means Walls of sieve tubes have small pores in it. Perforated means they have small pores in it to exchange food and nutrients. Now students, it is also very important that in which kind of element cells are living cells and in which kind of element cells are dead cells. So in only in phloem fiber cells are dead cells. Rest of the others have live cells. So students, we have done with plant tissue. Now take a look to the flowchart. So students, in the starting of chapter we have studied about tissue, then plant tissue and animal tissue. Then plant tissue is divided into two types, meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. We have studied about these two kind of tissues and also apical, intercalary and lateral, which are types of meristematic tissue. Then permanent tissue is divided into two kind of tissues, simple permanent and complex permanent. We have also done these two kind of tissues. Then simple permanent is divided into two types, supportive tissue and protective tissue. Supportive tissue is also of three kinds, parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. And special type of parenchyma are two, chlorenchyma and erenchyma. We have also studied about these two types. Then protective tissues, which are two, epidermis and cork. Then we have studied about complex permanent tissue, which are of two types, xylem and phloem. Xylem is made up of four elements, tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. And phloem is made up of five type of elements, sieve cells, sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers and phloem parenchyma. So we have completed plant tissue. I hope you have copied all the notes which will help you in future. Now we will study about animal tissue. So let's start. So students, re-energize yourself and take a look here. Animal tissue. Now we will study about animal tissue. Animal tissue is simply divided into four types. First one is epithelial tissue. Second one is connective tissue. Third one is muscular tissue, and lastly fourth one is nervous tissue. So first of all, take a look at epithelial tissue. What are epithelial tissue? The covering or protective tissue. Means epithelial tissues are covering and protective tissue. Same as epidermis and cork are protective tissues in plants, epithelial tissues are also protective tissues in animals. Epithelial tissue cover most organs and cavities within the body. For example, our heart is an organ which is covered by epithelial tissue. It forms a barrier to keep different body systems separate. Cells of epithelial tissue are tightly packed and form a continuous sheet. Means epithelial tissue are a kind of these. These are cells, then this is another cell, this is another, and this type of sheets of cells make up a single epithelial tissue. No intercellular space. Cells have a small amount of cementing material. Cementing material means lignin. They have small amount of lignin. Cementing material is known as lignin. Now epithelial tissue is further divided into four kind of tissues. First one is squamous. Extremely thin and flat. Squamous tissue is very thin and flat. It covers oesophagus and the lining of the mouth, which are very sensitive organs, like oesophagus, which is also known as food pipe, and lining of the mouth. These two are covered by squamous epithelial tissue. Second is cuboidal. Cuboidal, we can also say cuboidal epithelial tissue. Cube shaped cells covers kidney tubules and ducts of salivary glands. What are functions of cuboidal tissue? It covers kidney tubules and ducts of salivary glands. Salivary gland is present in our throat, whose function is to secrete saliva. Now third one is columnar. Columnar means pillar-like. Columnar means pillar-like. It is of shape pillar-like, means this is its shape. In respiratory tract, columnar epithelial tissue also has cilia, which are hair-like projections. This is a special case, means in our respiratory tract, Columnar epithelial tissue also has hair-like projections which are known as cilia. Hey students, listen one thing. In your life, whenever you listen this word cilia, it means hair-like projection. In biology, cilia means hair-like projections. A microorganism, paramecium, also has cilia, means hair-like projections. Now that's why it is also known as ciliated columnar tissue. Means in respiratory tract, columnar epithelial tissue has hair-like projection. That is why its another name is ciliated columnar tissue. It is its another name. Now this is last kind of epithelial tissue, stratified squamous. Cells of this tissue are arranged in many layers to prevent wear and tear. Stratified squamous has largest width, means we can simply say these are layers of cells and this is the shape of stratified squamous epithelial. The skin which protects the body is made up of stratified squamous tissue. Our skin which protects our internal organs is made up of stratified squamous tissue. And why our skin is made up of stratified squamous tissue? Because function of skin is to protect internal organs and stratified squamous epithelial tissue helps it to do its function very easily. Now second type of animal tissue is connective tissue. What are connective tissues? Cells of connective tissues are loosely spaced. It has intercellular matrix. Intercellular matrix means there is a fluid like between cells. Matrix may be jelly like fluid, dense or rigid. That matrix may be fluid, dense or rigid. Matrix is of same kind which help tissue to perform its function easily. As in epithelial tissue, we have discussed that in skin there is stratified squamous tissue. Why? Because skin protect internal organs from wear and tear, and stratified squamous epithelial tissue helps the skin to do same. Now same in connective tissue, it depends on the function of tissue, that what is its function, that type of matrix is present in that special tissue. For example, blood. Blood has fluid or liquid matrix called plasma. We all know that there is plasma in blood which is yellowish and in color, and plasma contains RBC, red blood cells, WBCs, white blood cells, and platelets, proteins, salts and hormones. Blood transport gases, digested food, hormones and waste material to different parts of the body. Means based on the function of that particular, means what is function of blood to transport these things to other parts of the body. That is why fluid and liquid matrix is present in this kind of tissue. Now second is bone. Strong, hard and non-flexible tissue. Tissue which is present in bones that has hard matrix. Hard matrix of cells is present which is made up of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Means tissues which are present in bone are made up of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Now third example is cartilage. Widely spaced cells means there is very space between cells. Solid matrix is composed of proteins and sugar. Now this matrix is made up of proteins and sugar in cartilage. It smoothens the bone surface at joints. Means cartilage, the function of cartilage is to smooth the surface at joints, surface of bones at joints. It is present in the nose, ear, larynx, etc. Now student, one important thing, we can easily bend cartilage. Its arrangement, its matrix is that kind that we can simply bend it. You can simply bend your ear where cartilage is present. Fourth is ligament. A tissue which connects two bones is ligament. It is very important to keep in mind difference between ligament and tendons. First we will discuss about ligament and then about tendons. Ligament is a tissue which connects two bones. It is very elastic tissue, means it is very stretchable. It has a good strength also. It contains very little matrix. Now tendons, a tissue which connects muscle to bones. Ligament connects to bone, means bones to bone, and tendons connect muscle to Bones. It also has great strength. These are fibrous tissue. It has limited flexibility. These are elastic tissues, stretchable tissues, but in tendons there is limited flexibility. Now next is areolar. Areolar is found between muscles and skin, around blood vessels, nerves, and in the bone marrow. Examiner can simply ask you a question that name a tissue which is found in bone marrow, or name a tissue which is found between muscle and skins around blood vessels, nerves. Then your answer will be areolar. It fills the space inside the organs. It supports internal organs. It helps in repair of tissues. Their main function is to support internal organs and repair tissues. Next is adipose. It stores fat found below the skin and between internal organs. Cells of this tissue are filled with fats. Means adipose, simple function of adipose is to store fat, and it is found in a space between internal organs. Now we have completed connective tissue. Now coming to the next type, that is muscular tissue. So what are muscular tissues? Elongated cells are present, also called muscle fibers. This tissue is responsible for movement in our body. Means we can move due to muscular tissue. Muscles contain contractile proteins which contract and relax to cause movement of muscle. This is an explanation that how we are able to move. There are some muscles which are made up of contractile proteins which rapidly contract and relax, due to which we can move easily. Muscles are of two types, voluntary muscles and involuntary muscles. And there is also a third type, that is cardiac muscle. So first of all, let us study about voluntary muscles. Voluntary muscles. So students, first of all, we should discuss about voluntary actions. Voluntary actions are those actions which are under our control. Means when we want to move our hand, we can simply move. And other type is involuntary actions. So first of all, we will study about voluntary muscles. What are voluntary muscles? Muscles which we can move by our will. Those muscles which are under our control, which we can move by our will, are known as voluntary muscles. These muscles are mostly attached to bones and help in body movement. So they are also called skeletal muscles. Under microscope, these show light and dark bands or striations. So they are also called striated muscles. When we observe voluntary muscles or when we observe skeletal muscle under microscope, we can simply observe some dark and light bands. That is why these kind of muscles are also known as striated muscles. Now cells of this tissue are multinucleated. Multinucleated means have many nucleus. Cells of this tissue are long, cylindrical and unbranched. Means cells of this tissue are long in size, cylindrical in shape and have no branches. These muscles are present in limbs. Means we can easily move our limbs by our will. That is why these muscles are present in our limbs. Now this is second type, involuntary muscles. Involuntary muscles means those muscles which are not under our control. So muscles which we cannot move by our will are known as involuntary muscles. These are also called smooth muscles. So another name of involuntary muscles is smooth muscles. The cells of smooth muscles are spindle shaped. Spindle shaped means broader at middle and pointed at the ends, like this. This is spindle shaped. Cells are uninucleate. Uninucleate means these cells have only single nucleus. These are found in iris of the eye, in uterus and in bronchi of lungs. So these are the parts where involuntary muscles are found. They are also called unstriated muscles. This is third name of involuntary muscle, unstriated muscles. So there are simply three names: involuntary muscles, we can say smooth muscles, or we can say unstriated muscles. We have to remember all these three. Now third type is cardiac muscle. I hope you students know cardiac means related to heart. So cells of cardiac muscles are cylindrical and branched. Means cells of Cardiac muscles are cylindrical in shape and have many branches. Cells are uninucleate. Uninucleate means have single nucleus. These muscles are present in heart. Cardiac means related to heart. So these kind of muscles are present in our heart. These are also involuntary muscles. Means these muscles are also not in under our control. We cannot move these by our will. So this was all about muscular tissue. There were three types: voluntary muscles, involuntary muscles and cardiac muscles. Now coming to the last topic, nervous tissue. So students, as we have discussed, animal tissue is divided into four types and fourth type is nervous tissue. So we are here at the end of this chapter. So let us study about what is nervous tissue. It is one of the most important tissue. Cells of nervous tissue have high capacity to respond at stimuli. Do you know what is stimuli? Stimuli means our quick reaction when there is a sudden change in our environment. So, nervous tissue help us to react quickly when there is a sudden change in our environment. The brain, spinal cord and nerves are all composed of nervous tissue. These three are composed of nervous tissue. Cells of nervous tissue are called nerve cells or neurons. Or we can simply say, when a group of nerve cells combines, they form nervous tissue. Or when a group of neurons combine, they form nervous tissue. A neuron is a cell body which contains nucleus, cytoplasm, from which hair-like parts called dendrites arises, single long part called axon. Neuron is a cell which has all essential components which are essential for any cell. An individual nerve cell may be up to a meter long. Means individual nerve cell can maximum be 1 meter long. Connective tissue connect many nerve fibers to make an individual nerve. Means so many nerve fibers connects by connective tissue and then form a single nerve. And when so many nerves combine, they form nervous tissue. Nerve impulses allow us to move our muscles when we want. Means I am moving my hand muscles because of nervous tissue. When nerve impulse allow us, then we are capable to move our muscles. And this is diagram of a single neuron. This is a single neuron. It is its nucleus. These are dendrites. This part is called axon. This is cytoplasm, the jelly-like substance inside a cell. So when a nerve ending receive a message, it transfer it to axon to nucleus to dendrites, and these dendrites transfer this message to next neuron, and by this they all transfer the message very quickly to brain. And then brain give us order to respond at that particular stimuli, and then we respond. So this was all about the function of nervous tissue. Now we have done our chapter. Now let us take a look again at the flow chart of animal tissue. Yes, so we have studied about animal tissue. Animal tissue is divided into four parts: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. We have just studied about nervous tissue. Epithelial tissue has four parts: squamous, cuboidal, columnar means ciliated and stratified squamous. We have also discussed about this. Then connective tissue, in which we have studied about blood, bones, ligament, tendon, cartilage, areolar and adipose. Then muscular tissue are of two types: voluntary muscles and involuntary muscles. Voluntary muscles are also known as striated or skeletal muscles, and involuntary muscles are further divided into two categories: smooth muscles and cardiac muscles. So this was our chapter with notes and explanation. I hope you have understood. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in comment section. So all the best for exam. Now try to do exercise and in-text question. I am sure that you can do them easily by yourself. And now we will meet in another video with a new topic. Bye bye. Take care.